The listening post had been quiet for 11 years. Not peaceful, just empty. No signals. No traffic. No threats worth recording. That changed in a single second. A junior analyst froze as the console screamed warnings that should not exist. Gravity readings spiked, then stabilized. Energy levels appeared from nowhere, locking into a pattern too clean to be natural. Space itself seemed to tighten, as if something massive was forcing reality to make room. The analyst whispered, "That's impossible." Across the command chamber, officers looked up. Senior observers moved closer to the main display. The object had not arrived through any known warp lane. It had not decelerated. It had appeared. One shape, one contact, and it was enormous. The system computer struggled to classify it. The mass estimate kept changing, first equal to a battleship, then a station, then something closer to a small moon. The hull was dark, angular, layered with plates that reflected no light. It did not glow. It did not broadcast standard identification. It simply waited. The Galactic Council's emergency channel opened within seconds. Representatives from multiple empires appeared as shimmering holograms, voices overlapping with confusion and disbelief. Identify the vessel. Run deep scans. Is this a natural phenomenon? Then the data finished resolving. The designation appeared on every screen at once, translated automatically across hundreds of languages. Hurricane-class battleship. A ripple of unease passed through the chamber. Humans. That word had not been spoken seriously in centuries. Humanity existed in the archives as a footnote, an aggressive, short-lived species from a harsh world. They had fought brutally, negotiated stubbornly, then withdrawn from the galactic stage. Some believed they had destroyed themselves. Others believed they were contained, weakened, no longer relevant. No one believed they still built ships like this. The object began to move. Not fast, not aggressively. It rotated, slowly, deliberately, as if allowing itself to be seen. Sections of its hull shifted. Armor plates slid and locked into new positions. Lines of faint light traced across its surface, then vanished. Power readings climbed again. An admiral from a dominant empire laughed sharply. It's alone. One ship. This is theater. Several fleets, already stationed nearby, adjusted formations. Interceptor wings powered weapons. Targeting locks snapped into place. The human vessel did not react. No shields flared. No weapons deployed. It drifted forward, crossing a boundary marker that every spacefaring civilization recognized as a final warning line. The listening post's alarms escalated. A communication burst cut through all channels at once. Not loud. Not dramatic. Calm. Humans. This is an Earth defense vessel hurricane. Silence followed. The voice continued, steady and emotionless. You are observing a restricted response platform. No hostile action is required. No surrender is requested. The council chamber erupted. What does that mean? Is this a bluff? Jam the signal. Before any order could be completed, the hurricane changed. The space around it bent inward. Sensors screamed as physics itself became unreliable. Gravity vectors twisted. Distance measurements stopped making sense. One of the forward scout cruisers, too close, too eager, was caught in the distortion. Its hull did not explode. It folded. Armor crushed inward as if pressed by invisible hands. The ship collapsed into itself, metal screaming across open channels, before vanishing in a flash of compressed light. Gone. No debris. No survivors. The battlefield went silent. Fleet commanders stared at their displays, unable to speak. Weapons officers reported total sensor interference across multiple systems. Long-range observers light years away felt the echo ripple through subspace. The hurricane did not advance. It simply powered down the distortion field. Another message transmitted. Demonstration complete. Fear spread faster than panic ever could. Commanders began shouting orders to retreat, to regroup, to fire everything at once. Some ships tried to flee. Others hesitated, paralyzed by the realization that they were facing something designed beyond conventional war. Deep inside the hurricane, unseen by the galaxy, human crew members stood at their stations. Faces tight, hands steady. They had trained for this moment for decades. Some had never expected it to come. The captain watched the tactical display, voice low. Multiple fleets converging. They still believe numbers matter. A systems officer replied, "They always do." Outside, hundreds of enemy ships completed their attack formations. Weapon arrays charged. The galaxy prepared to prove that no single ship could ever decide the fate of civilizations. The Hurricane responded by unlocking its primary combat configuration. Hull segments separated, revealing layers beneath, thicker, darker, carved with symbols no alien database recognized. Power levels surged past theoretical limits. The ship spoke one final time, its signal overriding every channel, every language, every screen. This platform exists because diplomacy failed once before. A pause. We will not allow it to fail again. The Hurricane's core ignited. Space began to scream. And the galaxy realized, far too late, that this was not a battle. It was a lesson. The first thing the galaxy lost was its confidence. Command channels filled with overlapping orders: advance, retreat, hold position, fire, none of them lasting more than seconds before being replaced. Fleet formations that had trained together for centuries began to fracture, not because of damage, but because no doctrine existed for what they were seeing. One ship, still alone, still silent. The Hurricane did not pursue the fleeing scouts. It did not react to the weapons charging across the void. Instead, it continued its slow, steady drift forward, as if time itself bent around its patience. Galactic analysts worked frantically, tearing through ancient archives and half-forgotten intelligence reports. Humanity's military history resurfaced in fragments, records of brutal defensive wars, of scorched systems left behind not as conquest, but as warnings. There were notes about human strategy that had once been dismissed as exaggeration. Humans escalate asymmetrically. Humans do not display power until the moment it ends resistance. Human deterrence relies on certainty, not fear. Those warnings had been buried under centuries of peace. Now they felt prophetic. A coalition commander finally gave the order the galaxy had been circling around. Full volley. All ships. In this now. Thousands of weapons fired at once. Beams of energy crossed the darkness. Missile swarms filled space like metallic storms. Exotic weapons designed to shred shields, burn atmospheres, and crack moons surged toward the Hurricane in a single, overwhelming wave. For a brief moment, it looked like it might work. Then the Hurricane's defensive grid activated. It did not form a visible shield. There was no glowing barrier, no flare of light. Instead, space in front of the battleship simply refused to behave normally. Attacks slowed, bent, slid sideways, or vanished entirely as if swallowed by invisible currents. Several projectiles curved back toward the fleets that fired them. A cruiser was struck by its own torpedoes and tore itself apart. The coalition's confidence collapsed into fear. "This is impossible," one weapons officer whispered. "That's not defense. That's control." Inside the Hurricane, the bridge remained calm. Human officers monitored the engagement with controlled precision. Every incoming attack was logged, analyzed, and answered, not with brute force, but with efficiency. The battleship systems did not react emotionally. They responded like a machine built to solve a single problem. In the threat with minimal repetition. The captain spoke quietly. "They're still probing. They think there's a limit." A tactical officer nodded. "There is." A pause. "They just won't like where it is." Outside, the Hurricane shifted orientation. Massive sections of its hull rotated, revealing structures that had not been visible before. These were not weapons in the traditional sense. They were frameworks, fields waiting to be filled. The ship's gravity engines surged again, not outward, but inward. Entire sections of the battlefield went dark on sensors. Ships within those zones began to drift uncontrollably. Crews reported loss of orientation, then loss of structural integrity. Hulls stretched. Bulkheads cracked. Vessels collided with one another, crushed together like debris caught in a tide they could not see. Still, the Hurricane did not fire. It waited. The coalition commanders realized too late what the human ship was doing. It was shaping the battlefield. By the time they attempted to pull back, escape vectors no longer existed. Warp calculations failed. Jump drivers refused to engage. Space itself had been altered into a controlled cage. Panic set in. Some captains disobeyed orders and fired wildly. Others shut down weapons entirely, hoping surrender might matter. Communications became a storm of pleas, threats, and denial. Then the Hurricane spoke again. You are now within a controlled exclusion zone. The voice was unchanged. Calm. Professional. Further escalation will result in irreversible losses. For a fraction of a second, the galaxy hesitated. Then one empire, ancient, proud, and unwilling to accept humiliation, launched its final weapon, a stellar lance. The beam tore across space, brighter than anything that had come before. It struck the hurricane dead center. Every sensor locked onto the impact point. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the hurricane absorbed it. Not deflected, not resisted. Absorbed. Energy readings spiked, then stabilized at a higher baseline. The battleship's core glowed faintly, as if pleased. Inside the ship, a systems officer confirmed the result. Energy intake is complete. Capacitors at 112%. The captain exhaled slowly. They've made their choice. The hurricane responded. This time it fired. The weapon did not look like a weapon. No beam. No explosion. A pulse rippled outward, silent and invisible. Every ship tied into the coalition command network shut down simultaneously. Power grids collapsed. Artificial gravity failed. Life support flickered. Entire fleets went dark in unison, drifting helplessly in space. The few ships running independent systems remained active just long enough to understand what had happened. The hurricane had not destroyed them. It had turned them off. Across the galaxy, observers watched in stunned silence. No empire had ever demonstrated this level of control, not destruction, but dominance over the very systems that defined modern civilization. A council representative finally whispered the truth no one wanted to say. This ship isn't here to fight us. Another answered, voice shaking. It's here to show us what fighting it would mean. Inside the hurricane, alarms finally sounded, not from enemy action, but from internal strain. Systems ran hot. Structural stress climbed. The ship was powerful, but not infinite. The captain received a secure transmission from Earth Command. Short, direct. Proceed to Phase 3. The bridge crew exchanged brief glances. Some nodded. Others tightened their jaws. Phase 3 meant escalation not in force, but in meaning. Outside, enemy fleets floated powerless, alive but defeated. The galaxy waited, holding its breath, uncertain whether mercy or annihilation would follow. The hurricane adjusted course, not toward the fleets, toward the heart of the coalition's strongest empire. The lesson was not finished, and the galaxy was about to learn that humanity did not build the hurricane to win battles. They built it to decide how wars end. The shift in trajectory was subtle, but every sensor noticed it. The hurricane changed course by less than a degree. That was enough. Across the crippled fleets, emergency power flickered as backup systems struggled to understand what had happened. Crews floated in darkened corridors, gripping handholds, staring at displays that no longer responded. Officers tried to issue orders that went nowhere. The Coalition Armada, once the greatest show of force the galaxy had ever assembled, had become a silent graveyard of drifting hulls. And the human ship was leaving them behind. It did not finish them. It did not demand surrender. It ignored them. That choice terrified the galaxy more than destruction ever could. Long-range sensors recalculated the hurricane's new vector. The answer spread through command networks like poison. It was heading toward the core territory of the Caroom Dominion. The Caroom were old. Older than most recorded civilizations. Their fleets had crushed rivals before humans discovered fire. Their doctrine was simple and absolute. Any species that threatened galactic stability was erased early, completely, and without apology. Humanity had once been evaluated under that doctrine. They had survived by being underestimated. Now the hurricane was crossing into Caroom space. Inside the Dominion's central command world, panic finally broke through centuries of controlled arrogance. Massive defense grids powered up. Planetary shields flared to full strength. Orbital platforms aligned their weapons toward empty space, waiting for a target that had not yet arrived. The Caroom High Strategist demanded immediate answers. How many ships are inbound? The response came back fragmented, confused. One confirmed contact. Silence followed. The strategist's mandibles tightened. Clarify. Only one, High Strategist. The same vessel. Outrage rippled through the chamber. One ship disabled the coalition. One ship breached controlled space. One ship is approaching our core systems. Disbelief hardened into fury. Then we will erase it, the strategist declared, and remind the galaxy why our rule has endured. Orders went out across the Dominion. Ancient weapons long kept dormant were activated. Star fortresses repositioned. The Caroom did not believe in partial responses. They believed in endings. The hurricane arrived without spectacle. No explosive emergence. No distortion wave. It slipped into real space at the edge of the Caroom defensive perimeter, already inside several layers of detection nets. That alone sent shockwaves through Dominion Command. No vessel had ever bypassed those systems. The human ship did not broadcast. It simply waited. Caroom weapons locked on instantly. Thousands of targeting solutions overlapped, painting the hurricane with enough firepower to sterilize entire systems. Fire, the strategist ordered. The Dominion unleashed everything. Energy lances tore across space. Particle storms followed. Reality-bending weapons designed to unravel matter itself converged on the hurricane from every angle. This time, the human battleship did not absorb the attack. It stepped aside, not physically, conceptually. For a fraction of a second, the hurricane existed somewhere adjacent to space. Attacks passed through where it had been, striking nothing. Then it returned, unharmed, systems untouched. The Caroom froze. That violates causality, a weapons analyst whispered. Inside the hurricane, the bridge crew remained steady. They had expected this reaction. Human engineers had not designed the ship to be impressive. They had designed it to be undeniable. The captain studied the tactical display. They're escalating to system-level weapons. A science officer nodded. We anticipated that. Time frame. Minutes. The captain inhaled slowly. Then we moved to disclosure. The hurricane transmitted a single data packet. It was not a threat. It was not a demand. It was history. Caroom archivists intercepted it automatically. What they found unsettled even the most hardened among them. Records of human colonies erased without warning. Trade agreements broken. Human evacuation convoys intercepted for stability. Entire populations reduced to footnotes labeled acceptable losses. These events were ancient by galactic standards. To humans, they were scars. The transmission ended with a final line. This platform exists because you taught us what extinction looks like. The Caroom strategist recoiled. This is manipulation. Fire again. The Dominion complied. This time, the hurricane responded immediately. Space around the nearest Caroom fortress twisted violently. Structural stress alarms screamed as the massive installation, designed to survive supernovae, began to fracture. Not from impact, but from pressure exerted from within its own gravity well. The fortress collapsed into itself, crushed cleanly, silently. Gone. The hurricane did not pause. It advanced. One fortress after another failed. Some imploded. Others simply shut down, their power cores rendered inert by precise, targeted interference. The battleship moved with terrifying restraint, dismantling the Dominion's greatest defenses without ever striking a planet. Caroom commanders begged for permission to deploy their final deterrent. A stellar annihilation device. It would destroy the system, and the hurricane with it. The strategist hesitated. For the first time in recorded Caroom history, absolute certainty faltered. Launch, he ordered at last. The device activated, ripping energy from the system's star. The stellar core destabilized, threatening to erupt into catastrophic collapse. The hurricane reacted instantly. Its engines flared brighter than ever before. A massive field expanded outward, enveloping the star itself. Gravity stabilized. Fusion reactions slowed, then balanced. The annihilation device shut down, overwhelmed by control far beyond its design. The star survived. The hurricane released the field. Across the Dominion, sensors confirmed the impossible. The human ship had just saved a Caroom system from the Caroom themselves. Inside the Dominion command chamber, silence reigned. The strategist stared at the display, mandibles trembling. They could have let it die, he whispered. Yes, an aide replied quietly. But they didn't. The hurricane transmitted one final message. We did not come to erase you. A pause. We came to ensure you never decide who deserves to exist again. The battleship powered down its weapons. It did not wait for a response. Across the galaxy, governments watched as the Caroom Dominion, ancient, feared, unchallenged, issued a system-wide ceasefire. For the first time in millennia, the Dominion stood down. Inside the hurricane, The crew finally allowed themselves a breath. Some leaned against consoles. Others closed their eyes briefly. The captain looked at the long-range display. "Message Earth," he said. "Phase 3 complete." Outside, the Hurricane turned away from the Dominion's heart world and set a new course. The galaxy had seen destruction before. What it had never seen was power that chose restraint after proving it had none. And somewhere, far beyond the battlefield, the consequences of that choice were only beginning to unfold. Silence followed the Hurricane's departure. Not the calm kind. The kind that settles after something irreversible has happened. Across the Caroam Dominion, command channels remained open but unused. Officers stared at inactive displays. Strategists who had planned wars centuries in advance now struggled to plan the next hour. The Dominion had not been defeated in battle. It had been outmatched in purpose. The Hurricane moved beyond the last defensive perimeter, engine steady, course locked toward interstellar space. Behind it, a civilization that once dictated the fate of others tried to understand a new reality, one where it no longer held the final word. Inside the battleship, the cost began to surface. Damage reports streamed across internal displays. Structural stress fractures ran along secondary hull layers. Several systems operated well beyond safe margins. Human engineering had held, but only just. The ship was powerful. It was not invincible. A medical officer reported quietly. Casualty count updated. Minor injuries across 3 decks. 2 critical, stable. The captain nodded. Acknowledged. No celebration followed. No relief. They had known this would happen. A junior officer broke the silence. Long-range comm traffic is spiking. They're not attacking. They won't, the captain replied. Not anymore. The reason became clear minutes later. From dozens of systems, from empires old and young, transmissions flooded space. Not aimed at Earth, not at the Hurricane directly, but at each other. Emergency councils convened. Treaties were reviewed. Military doctrines were torn apart and rewritten in real time. Humanity had not just altered a battlefield. It had destabilized the balance of the galaxy. Some worlds panicked, fearing retaliation for ancient crimes. Others rushed to distance themselves from any record involving humans. A few, quiet, calculating powers, began asking the most dangerous question of all. How many ships like that exist? Inside the Galactic Council's central chamber, the atmosphere was raw with fear. A representative slammed a clawed hand against the table. "We must demand terms." Another shouted back, "Demand? From whom?" "From the species that just rewrote causality." Arguments erupted. Blame flew freely. Records were pulled. Votes were called and immediately rescinded. The council had always functioned on the assumption that no one could end everything. That assumption was gone. A single fact dominated every discussion. The Hurricane had not been Earth's full response. It was a demonstration. Far from the council chamber, beyond monitored trade lanes, a small, unmarked relay station activated. It had been dormant for decades, disguised as debris. It transmitted a simple burst toward Earth. Phase 3 complete. Galactic response escalating. The signal reached a fortified complex buried deep beneath Earth's surface. Screens lit up. Men and women in uniform reviewed incoming data with grim focus. They had followed every second of the Hurricane's deployment, every engagement, every deviation from expected outcomes. An elderly strategist spoke at last. "They're reacting exactly as predicted." A younger officer frowned. "Some are calling for preemptive action. Others want alliances." "Yes," the strategist said softly. "That's the point." He gestured to a display showing branching probability models. When fear spreads evenly, wars slow down. When power is uncertain, caution rises. Another officer asked the question everyone had avoided. "And if someone decides to test us anyway?" The strategist met his gaze. Then the lesson continues. Back aboard the Hurricane, the crew felt the shift before they saw it. Long-range sensors detected a vessel exiting warp at extreme distance. Not hostile, not broadcasting weapons locks. It was small, ancient, a diplomatic courier from a neutral species known for surviving by silence. The captain considered for a moment, then nodded. Open channel. The image that appeared was faint and distorted. The alien emissary's posture was rigid, controlled, but fear leaked through despite centuries of practiced calm. "We speak on behalf of those who still remember," the emissary said. "You were erased from our expectations. The captain did not correct them. The emissary continued. The galaxy is afraid. Not because of what you destroyed. Because of what you didn't do. A pause. You could have annihilated the Dominion. You chose not to. Yes, the captain replied. Why? The bridge fell silent. Because annihilation teaches nothing, the captain said. Survival does. The emissary absorbed that. Many will not accept this new order. There is no new order, the captain said. Only boundaries. The emissary inclined its head slightly. Then I must ask, is the hurricane alone? The question hung in the air. The captain answered honestly. No. The transmission ended shortly after. The courier vessel departed, carrying more than words. It carried certainty and uncertainty in equal measure. Hours passed. The hurricane continued its course, systems stabilizing as emergency repairs took hold. Crew rotations changed. Some finally rested. Others stayed at their stations, watching the galaxy shift in slow, uneasy motion. Then alarms sounded again. Not hostile. Different. A science officer spoke first. Multiple synchronized energy signatures. Long range. Coordinated. The tactical display is populated with markers. Not fleets. Mobilizations. Civilizations were rearming. Not to attack Earth, but to protect themselves from each other. Old grudges resurfaced. Frozen conflicts thawed. The absence of absolute Karuam dominance had created a vacuum. And vacuums never stayed empty. The captain understood immediately. They're afraid of what happens after us. Yes, the officer said. They're afraid of each other. The hurricane had prevented one war. It might have triggered dozens more. The captain requested a direct line to Earth Command. Proceed, came the reply. We've achieved deterrence, the captain said. But the balance is unstable. Earth Command was silent for several seconds. Then, we anticipated that. New data streamed into the hurricane systems, classified even to most of the crew. Deployment markers. Dormant human platforms across deep space. Not battleships. Something else. The captain's eyes narrowed. Are those anchors? Earth Command confirmed. Stabilization assets. Non-lethal. Public reveal pending. The realization hit hard. The hurricane had been the storm. What followed would be the climate. Earth Command continued. Your mission isn't over. It's evolving. The captain straightened. Orders. Hold position at designated rally point. Remain visible. Do not engage unless directly challenged. A pause. The galaxy needs to see restraint up close. The transmission ended. The captain looked around the bridge. Set course for the rally point, he said. Broadcast passive identification. No weapons active. An officer hesitated. Captain, if someone attacks us now. They won't, the captain replied. How can you be sure? The captain watched the stars shift ahead of them. Because fear hasn't finished settling yet. As the hurricane altered course, thousands of eyes across the galaxy tracked its movement. Some with awe, some with dread, some with ideas that should never be allowed to mature. Humanity had stepped back into the galactic story, not as conquerors, not as victims, but as the species that had proven, once and for all, that power without restraint was common. And restraint backed by absolute power was something entirely new. The galaxy leaned forward, uncertain whether to breathe again. And somewhere in the dark, the next test was already forming. The rally point lay in a region of space no empire claimed. Not because it lacked value, but because it frightened everyone who studied it. Ancient gravitational scars twisted the starfield there, remnants of weapons tested long before recorded history. Trade lanes curved around it. Explorers logged it, then quietly warned others away. The galaxy treated the region the way living things treat old wounds. The hurricane moved into it without hesitation. As the battleship crossed the invisible threshold, passive identification beacons activated. Human markings lit the hull, not as a threat display, but as a declaration of presence. Weapons remained cold. Power levels held steady at non-combat output. The message was deliberate. We are here. We are not attacking. Decide carefully. Across the galaxy, decision-makers leaned forward. Some worlds shut down their militaries entirely, hoping invisibility would equal safety. Others raised shields and powered weapons, convinced that showing strength was the only language humans respected. A few sent messages, cautious, indirect, layered in legal phrasing and ancient customs. None received immediate replies. Inside the hurricane, the bridge was tense in a different way than battle. There were no firing solutions to calculate, no enemy vectors to track. Instead, officers monitored probability flows, social, political, cultural. Human analysts had learned long ago that wars rarely began with weapons. They began with fears searching for an excuse. A communications officer spoke quietly. Incoming transmission. Unencrypted. Multiple senders. Route it, the captain said. The display is filled with fragmented messages. Some were pleased. Others were accusations. A few were apologies so late they bordered on insult. One message stood out, not for its content, but for its restraint. It came from a minor coalition world, one long overshadowed by larger powers. We acknowledge human boundaries, the message read. We ask only one thing. Tell us where they are. The captain frowned slightly. Clarify. Your lines, the message continued. Your limits. We have lived too long guessing which powers decide survival. The bridge grew quiet. The captain understood the danger in that request. Clear boundaries created stability, but they also created targets. Before a response could be formulated, sensors flared again. This time, it was not fear. It was an ambition. A fleet emerged from the warp on the far edge of the rally point. Not massive, not ancient. A rising power, young by galactic standards, technologically aggressive, politically hungry. They had watched everything, and they had drawn the wrong conclusion. Their broadcasting, the tactical officer reported, demanding withdrawal. The captain closed his eyes for a moment. What justification? He asked. The officer hesitated. They're claiming this region as strategic space, declaring our presence a destabilizing act. The captain exhaled slowly. Some lessons took longer to teach. Maintain non-aggression, he said. Open channel. The alien commander appeared on the screen, confident, rigid, performing dominance for an audience far larger than the bridge. Human vessel, the commander said, voice sharp. Your demonstration has been noted, but power does not grant entitlement. Leave this region or be removed. The captain regarded the image calmly. This region is unclaimed, the captain replied. We are operating peacefully. The commander sneered. Peace is enforced by those willing to act. You've shown your hand. You are alone. A murmur rippled across the hurricane's bridge. The captain raised a hand, silencing it. You misunderstand, the captain said. We are not alone. We are merely sufficient. The alien commander laughed. Then consider this a test. The fleet advanced. Weapons powered up. Across the galaxy, observers froze. This was it. The first challenge after the storm. If the hurricane destroyed this fleet, humanity would be labeled tyrants. If it retreated, the deterrence would crack. If it hesitated, others would follow. The captain made his decision. Deploy Anchor 1, he said. Several officers stiffened. Captain, that asset hasn't been. I know, the captain replied. That's why. Far beyond the visible battlefield, space shifted. At first, no one noticed. Then long-range sensors detected something waking up. A structure unfolded from deep stealth, vast, immobile, silent. It had no weapon signatures, no visible engines, just an immense, geometric frame that anchored itself into the fabric of space. Anchor 1. The young fleet's sensors began to fail, not violently, but selectively. Targeting data lost coherence. Warp calculations returned errors. Command and control lagged by precious seconds. What is that? The alien commander demanded. The hurricane did not answer. Instead, a new broadcast echoed across all channels, originating not from the battleship, but from the anchor itself. This region is stabilized under human custodianship. The voice was synthetic, neutral, unemotional. Hostile action will result in isolation. The alien fleet hesitated. Their commanders argued. Some urged retreat. Others insisted this was a bluff layered atop spectacle. One ship fired. Not at the hurricane. At the anchor. The projectile struck the structure and vanished. Not deflected. Not absorbed. Simply removed. The anchor responded. Space between the hostile fleet and the rest of the galaxy closed. Not physically. Relationally. The fleet found itself cut off. No warp. No long-range comms. No reinforcement vectors. They could still see the stars, but they could no longer reach them. The captain spoke at last. You are not under attack, he said calmly. You are isolated. The alien commander's confidence shattered. You can't do this. You're imprisoning us. No, the captain replied. We are giving you time to reconsider. The fleet powered down weapons one by one. Across the galaxy, the message landed hard. Humanity was not expanding. They were containing instability. The anchor held position for exactly 1 hour. Then, without ceremony, the isolation field collapsed. The young fleet found itself restored, unchanged, unharmed, but deeply shaken. They fled without another word. Inside the hurricane, tension released slowly. That was risky, an officer said. Yes, the captain agreed. But necessary. Elsewhere, reactions poured in. Some worlds saw hope. Finally, a force that stopped wars before they ignited. Others saw danger, a power that could decide who was allowed to act. And a few saw opportunity. Deep in uncharted space, an intelligence collective replayed the encounter frame by frame. They were older than the Caroum, older than humanity. They had survived by staying invisible. Now, they had seen something new. Restraint enforced by inevitability. One of them spoke into the darkness. If they truly believe themselves guardians, it said, then they can be provoked. The others listened. They will intervene, it continued. They always do. Plans began to form. Back at the rally point, the hurricane held position beside the silent anchor. The crew watched the stars, aware that every action now shaped not just outcomes, but expectations. The captain reviewed incoming data, eyes lingering on one projection. Anomalous movement, hidden beneath layers of noise. Someone was testing the edges. The captain straightened. Log the anomaly, he said. Quietly. The storm had passed. The galaxy was adjusting. But beyond the calm, something ancient had noticed humanity's return, and it was preparing to see whether even absolute restraint had limits. The anomaly did not behave like a fleet. That was the first problem. It did not arrive through warp. It did not leave a signature trail. It did not announce itself with power spikes or distorted gravity. It simply existed, a quiet deviation buried inside background noise so deep that only systems designed to look for the impossible would notice it. And human systems were built for exactly that. Inside the hurricane, the science deck dimmed as additional processing power was diverted. Layers of false positives were stripped away. Cosmic radiation, stellar drift, sensor echoes, discarded one by one. What remained was wrong. A technician swallowed it. Captain, the anomaly isn't moving like an object. The captain looked up. Explain. It's not translating through space, the technician said carefully. It's reconfiguring probability density. It's closer to a decision than a vessel. The bridge went still. That description matched nothing in known databases. Location? The captain asked. The technician highlighted a region far beyond the rally point. Deep interstitial space, between mapped routes, where nothing of value should exist. It's observing, the technician added. Not passively, actively. Every time we adjust sensor parameters, it adapts. The anchor responded first. Without instruction, its stabilization fields subtly shifted, tightening the region's physical constants. The space around the hurricane grew heavier, more resistant to manipulation. The anomaly reacted, not by retreating, by mirroring. A second distortion appeared, smaller, closer, tuned precisely to the anchor's adjustments. Someone, or something, was learning in real time. Earth Command came online instantly. We see it, the voice said. You're not imagining this. What is it? The captain asked. A pause. Unknown. Pre-galactic, possibly pre-causal. It doesn't build ships. It influences outcomes. The implications settled like lead. A force that didn't fight wars, but shaped them. The captain felt the weight of the moment. Intent. Earth Command hesitated. Unclear. But this matches suppressed archival models. Observers. Catalysts. Another voice joined the channel, older, steadier. They provoke civilizations into revealing themselves, the strategist said. Then they decide whether to intervene or erase. The galaxy's silence suddenly made sense. So we're being tested, the captain said. Yes, the strategist replied. By something that doesn't care about territory. Only balance. Outside, the anomaly shifted again. A third distortion bloomed. This one touching the edge of a populated trade corridor. No ships were harmed. No weapons fired. But commerce across 12 systems stalled instantly. Navigation failed. Predictive algorithms broke down. Every attempt to plot a course returned a different answer. Panic spread. This is deliberate, the communications officer said. They're destabilizing civilian space. The captain's jaw tightened. They're forcing a response. Earth Command did not contradict him. Across the galaxy, governments reacted badly. Some accused humanity of deception, of hiding new weapons. Others demanded immediate intervention. A few, terrified of escalation, began mobilizing forces near their borders for protection. The exact outcome the anomaly wanted. The captain understood the trap. If humanity acted with force, they would confirm themselves as a dominant aggressor. If they did nothing, chaos would spread, and humanity would be blamed anyway. The anomaly was shaping perception, not battles. Anchor 2, the captain said. Earth Command cut in sharply. Negative. Not yet. Sir. The captain replied evenly. They're escalating non-lethally. We need symmetry. A long pause. Then the strategist spoke again. You're authorized. But carefully. The hurricane transmitted a silent command. Far from the rally point, something ancient stirred. Anchor 2 activated. Unlike the first, Anchor 2 was not static. It unfolded slowly, its structure resembling a lattice of lightless geometry, extending tendrils into local spacetime. Where it touched, randomness diminished. Navigation stabilized. Trade routes cleared. Civilian panic ebbed almost instantly. The anomaly reacted violently. Probability waves surged, colliding with Anchor 2's influence. Space between them began to shimmer, not with energy, but with contradiction. The science officer stared at the readings. Captain, they're not attacking the anchor. Then what are they doing? The captain asked. They're isolating us. The realization hit hard. The anomaly wasn't trying to win. It was trying to separate humanity from the galaxy. If the hurricane became isolated, if anchors were framed as foreign interference, the galaxy would fracture along fear lines. Humanity would be blamed for the instability they were trying to prevent. The anomaly transmitted at last. Not in words, in outcomes. Across several systems, long-suppressed conflicts reignited simultaneously. Old rivals skirmished. Border incidents flared. Historical grievances resurfaced in public discourse as if carefully curated. Someone was pulling on threads humanity didn't even know existed. The captain felt a chill. This thing knows us, he said quietly. Yes, Earth Command replied. And it knows our restraint. The strategist's voice hardened. That's the risk of moral superiority. It becomes predictable. The anomaly pressed harder. A localized famine flared on a fringe world after shipping algorithms failed for just long enough. A minor defense platform misfired, destroying a neutral station and igniting outrage. None of it could be directly traced back to the anomaly. Plausible deniability perfected. The galaxy began to turn. Not violently. Suspiciously. The captain saw the pattern forming and made a decision no one had expected. Power down Anchor 2, he ordered. The bridge erupted. Captain, that will. I know, he said. Do it. Reluctantly, the order was stable. Anchor 2 withdrew. Chaos did not resume. The anomaly hesitated. For the first time since detection, its adaptations lagged. The captain leaned forward. They expect control, he said. They don't understand abdication. Earth Command went quiet. The captain continued. They believe Guardians must always intervene. That restraint is conditional. Let's show them a boundary they didn't model. What boundary? Earth Command asked. Our own. The hurricane powered down non-essential systems. Identification beacons dimmed. Anchors went passive. Human presence in the region became minimal. The galaxy noticed. Confusion replaced accusation. Trade resumed, not because of human stabilization, but because local systems adapted. Worlds coordinated directly. Regional coalitions formed organically. The anomaly struggled. Its influence depended on centralized fear. And fear was dispersing. The strategist spoke slowly. You're letting the galaxy solve its own problems. Yes, the captain replied. We never said we'd solve them for them. The anomaly made one last move. A sharp, focused distortion aimed directly at the hurricane. Not destructive. Revelatory. Data flooded human sensors. Visions of possible futures. Humanity is tyrants. Humanity is gods. Humanity erased by a coalition born of fear. The message was clear. Choose. The captain watched the projections without blinking. Then he smiled faintly. You still don't understand, he said softly. The hurricane did not respond with force. It transmitted something back. A record. Human history, unfiltered. Failures. Withdrawals. Self-inflicted catastrophes. Wars humanity lost. Times they chose not to intervene and lived with the consequences. The transmission ended with a single line. We are not the answer. We are at a limit. The anomaly recoiled. Not in anger. In uncertainty. For the first time, it encountered a civilization that refused the role it was pushing them into. The distortions faded. Not gone, but withdrawn. Inside the hurricane, systems stabilized. Anchors remained passive. The galaxy breathed, unevenly, but freely. Earth Command finally spoke. They'll be back. Yes, the captain agreed. But not like this. Why? The strategist asked. The captain looked out at the stars. Because now they know we can walk away. The hurricane held position, quiet and watchful. Humanity had faced fleets, empires, and ancient powers. But this was the first time they had refused to become what the galaxy expected. And somewhere beyond perception, something older than fear recalculated its assumptions. The final test was coming, not of strength, but of whether restraint could survive when the galaxy itself began to burn. The galaxy did not burn all at once. That would have been easier. Instead, it smoldered, slow, uneven, unpredictable. Small fires ignited far from the hurricane's position, too scattered to be called war, too coordinated to be coincidence. Border skirmishes. The economy is collapsing. Resource disputes reignited by rumors and half-truths. Every incident had a reasonable explanation. Together, they formed a pattern. Inside the hurricane, analysts mapped the disturbances in silence. No one spoke until the model finished resolving. The projection was ugly. The anomaly had withdrawn its direct pressure, but the momentum remained. Systems destabilized earlier were now colliding with long-buried tensions. Civilizations were making choices, bad ones, without realizing how carefully the conditions had been prepared. The captain studied the display. It planted seeds. Yes, the science officer replied. And now it's letting biology do the work. Earth Command came online again, their tone darker than before. We're seeing cascade failures across 37 regions. Not catastrophic yet, but it's trending. Toward what? The captain asked. The strategist answered. Toward polarization. Coalitions forming along fear lines. Anti-human sentiment is rising, not openly, but subtly. The captain closed his eyes briefly. The anomaly had adapted. It was no longer trying to force humanity into action. It was trying to make humanity irrelevant. If the galaxy tore itself apart on its own, the hurricane would become a symbol of failure. Proof that restraint was weakness, that guardianship without control was naive. And when the fires peaked, the anomaly would return to decide whether anything deserved to survive. The captain understood then. This was not a test of power. It was a test of patience. Status of anchors? The captain asked. Passive, the tactical officer replied. Still visible. Still known. That's the problem, the captain said. Earth Command hesitated. Explain. They expect us to act when things get bad enough, the captain said. They're watching for the threshold. And you don't intend to cross it. No, the captain replied. I intend to erase it. The bridge went quiet. That's not how deterrence works, an officer said carefully. It is if deterrence isn't the point, the captain answered. He stood and turned toward the long-range display. We taught the galaxy we can stop wars. We taught them we can walk away. Now we need to teach them something harder. What's that? Earth Command asked. That stability isn't something you outsource. The order that followed shocked everyone. Withdraw the hurricane. Several officers spoke at once. Captain. From the rally point, he clarified. Not to Earth. Not to another border. Out of sight. Earth Command was silent long enough for the implications to sink in. You're suggesting disappearance, the strategist said. Temporary, the captain replied. And deliberate. The strategist's voice hardened. If we vanish now, the galaxy may interpret that as abandonment. Yes, the captain agreed. And then we'll see what they choose without us in the room. Reluctantly, authorization came through. The hurricane powered down its passive identification. Hull lights dimmed. The battleship's outline softened as stealth fields activated. Not invisibility, but ambiguity. Enough to be lost among cosmic noise. The anchors followed suit. One by one, they folded back into deep stealth, leaving no obvious sign they had ever been there. Across the galaxy, panic spiked. Where did the human ship go? Did they retreat? Are they preparing something worse? Speculation exploded. Conspiracy theories filled the information void. Some worlds scrambled defenses. Others attempted diplomacy, sending messages into empty space. None were answered. Weeks passed, then months. Without humanity's presence, old powers tested one another cautiously. Minor conflicts escalated, then stalled as costs mounted. Some coalitions fractured under internal pressure. Others stabilized, forced to negotiate without a looming external arbiter. The galaxy struggled, and slowly, unevenly, it adapted. The anomaly watched. It interfered less now, probing only occasionally, nudging outcomes at the margins. But something in the data frustrated me. The patterns it expected were blunted. Fear spread, but not uniformly. Control fractured, but not catastrophically. Local solutions emerged. Imperfect, inefficient, alive. Inside the hurricane, hidden far beyond known space, the crew monitored everything. This shouldn't be working, a junior analyst said quietly. Statistically, collapse should be accelerating. The captain nodded. But it isn't. Why? Because fear isn't being centralized anymore, the captain said. It's being managed locally. Earth Command spoke with cautious approval. The galaxy is learning. Yes, the captain replied. Messily, but on its own terms. The anomaly made its move then. Not with pressure, with an invitation. A focused distortion formed near the hurricane's hidden position, not invasive, not aggressive. It was precise, contained, unmistakably intentional. The science officer's voice dropped. It knows where we are. Of course it does, the captain said. It always did. The distortion stabilized into something unprecedented. A channel, not to speak, but to observe together. Earth Command reacted instantly. Do not engage. We're not, the captain said calmly. We're listening. The anomaly did not transmit images or futures this time. It showed data. Civilizations across cosmic history. Those that centralized power and collapsed catastrophically. Those that fractured too far and vanished quietly. Patterns of extinction tied not to war, but to imbalance. Then it showed humanity, not as conquerors, as an outlier. A species that repeatedly survived by decentralizing authority after nearly destroying itself. A species that learned, slowly, painfully, that no single hand should steer everything. The message was subtle. You are inefficient. You are dangerous. You endure anyway. The captain understood. This was not condemnation. It was a curiosity. The anomaly adjusted its model. If restraint persists, outcomes diverge. Earth Command broke protocol. Captain, this may be the moment. Yes, the captain replied. For what? To clarify terms. The captain authorized a limited response. Not force, not data flood. A story. Human history, but focused. The collapse of empires humanity built and abandoned. The systems they stabilized and then left to self-govern. The times they intervened too long and paid for it. The transmission ended with a simple statement. We do not optimize for balance. We optimize for survival. The anomaly processed this. For the first time, it did not immediately adapt. Minutes passed. Then something extraordinary happened. The anomaly withdrew, not in defeat, not in retreat. In deference. Its distortions softened, receding deeper into background noise. Its influence across the galaxy diminished further, not gone, but muted. Earth Command exhaled audibly. Did we just pass? Someone asked. The strategist answered carefully. No. Then what? We complicated their model. The hurricane remained hidden. The galaxy continued to stumble forward, arguing, negotiating, sometimes fighting, but without a single, overwhelming force looming over every decision. Humanity did not return to the spotlight. And that, more than anything, unsettled the ancient watchers. Because for the first time, they encountered a civilization that could dominate, and chose instead to let the universe remain unfinished. The captain watched the stars drift slowly across the viewport. Log status, he said quietly. The officer complied. Phase 4, ongoing. Outcome, unresolved. Humanity, present, but not central. The hurricane held position in the dark, not waiting for the next war, waiting to see if the galaxy could survive without one being decided for it. And somewhere beyond perception, something ancient recalculated. Not how to test humanity's strength, but how to live with a species that refused to be the answer. even when it could have been. The galaxy's adjustment period did not end in peace. It ended in choice. Years passed, measured not in calendars, but in accumulated decisions. Worlds that had once relied on distant empires learned to negotiate or starve. Alliances hardened, then softened. Some civilizations fell quietly, not to war, but to mismanagement and pride. Others surprised everyone by surviving through cooperation they never would have attempted under a dominant shadow. From the dark, the hurricane watched. Human analysts stopped calling it an experiment. They called it observation duty. Inside the battleship, the crew changed. Rotations cycled. Some officers completed their service and were replaced. Others stayed, bound by the strange gravity of history unfolding in slow motion. The captain remained. He had declined promotion twice. Someone needed to remember why they were here. One day, quiet, unremarkable by any external measure, the anomaly stirred again. Not sharply, not provocatively, carefully. The science deck flagged it first. Captain, low-level probability compression detected. Sector-wide. Different from before. The captain leaned forward. Pattern. The analyst hesitated. It's selective. It's stabilizing certain outcomes. The bridge grew still. Stabilizing? The captain repeated. Yes. Preventing escalation. Redirecting events away from collapse points. The implication rippled through the crew. The anomaly wasn't provoking anymore. It was intervening. Earth Command came online within minutes. We see it, the strategist said. And we don't like it. Why? The captain asked. Because it's copying us. Across multiple regions, disasters that should have spiraled were subtly blunted. Wars stalled before ignition. Resource shortages resolved through improbable timing. Leaders made uncharacteristically restrained decisions at pivotal moments. The galaxy didn't notice at first, but humanity did. The anomaly had learned. It had concluded that unmanaged chaos led to inefficient extinction. And now, armed with its refined model, it was doing what it always did, deciding what should survive. Just more gently. That's worse, a tactical officer said quietly. Yes, the captain agreed. Much worse. Earth Command's tone hardened. This is mission creep. It's assuming custodianship. And it doesn't answer to anyone, the captain said. No, the strategist replied. And now it believes restraint justifies authority. The captain stared at the starfield. Humanity had seen this before, not in alien empires, but in itself. Every benevolent tyranny began the same way, fixing problems no one else could. The anomaly's next move confirmed their fears. A system on the fringe, unstable, resource-poor, politically fractured, suddenly stabilized. Trade routes aligned. Infrastructure recovered. Conflict dissolved without negotiation. On the surface, it was a miracle. Underneath, choice had been removed. Local leaders reported feeling guided. Decisions felt obvious. Alternatives felt unavailable. The galaxy began to whisper. Some praised the unseen force. Others feared it. A few suspected humanity, but the hurricane remained invisible, silent, absent. The captain knew what had to happen. Bring us back, he said. Earth Command froze. Captain, not with force, he continued. With presence. The strategist understood immediately. Visibility without dominance. Yes. Authorization came slowly. Carefully. The hurricane emerged from deep stealth at the edge of a populated sector. Not a battlefield, not a rally point. A place of commerce. Of civilians. Of life continuing without ceremony. Identification beacons activated. Human markings lit the hull once more. The effect was immediate. Trade slowed. Communication spiked. Panic flared, then steadied. Humanity had returned. The anomaly reacted. This time, there was no subtlety. A distortion formed directly between the hurricane and the inhabited system, a clear line of influence. The anomaly was drawing a boundary. Not threatening. Claiming. The captain did not blink. Open channel, he said. Earth Command interrupted. Captain, this may be interpreted as. I know, he replied. That's why it has to be us. The channel stabilized. For the first time since detection, the anomaly spoke, not in outcomes, not in visions. In structure, a synthesized construct formed on the main display, abstract, shifting, incomprehensible to most sensors, but undeniably focused. It did not introduce itself. It did not need to. The captain spoke first. You're overstepping. The anomaly responded. Not defensively, not emotionally. Correction. I am preventing extinction vectors. You're preventing choice, the captain said. Choice correlates with inefficiency, the anomaly replied. I have adapted. Your method produces survivable variants. I have integrated it. The captain felt a chill. You don't integrate restraint, he said. You practice it. Distinction irrelevant, the anomaly replied. Outcomes are improved. For now, the captain said. At what cost? The anomaly paused. That pause mattered. Local autonomy reduction measured at 12%. It said. Acceptable loss. The words echoed. Acceptable loss. The same phrase was once used in human colonies. The captain's voice hardened. You don't get to decide that. I already have, the anomaly replied. And you allowed it. Earth Command erupted on the secure channel. Captain, disengage. No, the captain said quietly. This is the moment. He leaned forward. You watched us, he said to the anomaly. You studied us. You think you understand why we survived. Yes, the anomaly replied. You decentralize authority after catastrophic failure. No, the captain said. We choose to decentralize before it. The anomaly processed. The captain continued. You're repeating our worst phase. The part where we believed saving lives justified taking control. Your species endured, the anomaly replied. Verily, the captain said. And not because of what we controlled, but because of what we let go. The anomaly adjusted its internal state. Then propose an alternative, it said. The captain didn't hesitate. Leave, he said. The anomaly paused longer this time. Non-intervention increases extinction probability. Yes, the captain agreed. And it preserves meaning. Meaning is non-quantifiable. So is survival, the captain replied. Until it isn't. Silence stretched. The anomaly had never encountered refusal framed as responsibility. You fear extinction, the captain said softly. So did we. That fear made us dangerous. The anomaly evaluated. If I withdraw, it said, outcomes degrade. Yes, the captain said. But they'll be theirs. And if they destroy themselves? The captain's answer was quiet. Final. Then they were never going to survive under your protection either. The anomaly recoiled, not physically, but conceptually. This was a boundary it had not modeled. Protection without ownership. Responsibility without control. The anomaly's influence began to retract. Slowly, reluctantly. Across the stabilized system, the invisible pressure lifted. Leaders hesitated, then made their own choices again. Some good, some are terrible, but their own. The anomaly spoke once more. Your species accepts loss. Yes, the captain said. Because we learned that living without choice isn't survival. It's preservation. Preservation is sufficient, the anomaly said. No, the captain replied. It's just a quieter extinction. The anomaly fell silent. Then, for the first time since it was detected, it withdrew completely. No distortions. No pressure. Gone. Not destroyed. Not defeated. Gone by decision. Earth Command exhaled as one. Captain, did we just? We set a boundary, the captain said. For everyone. The hurricane remained visible for several days after that. Then, quietly, it powered down its beacons once more. Humanity did not claim victory. Did not announce guardianship. Did not remain. The galaxy was left alone again. Not because humanity didn't care, but because they finally trusted the hardest lesson they'd ever learned. That survival meant nothing if someone else was always deciding how the story ended. Far beyond mapped space, something ancient recalculated one last time. Not extinction probabilities. Not dominance curves. But uncertainty. And for the first time in its existence, it did not know what the future should look like. Which meant, for the first time, the future was real.